Hey, it's Chucky HJ. How's it going? Sorry, it's been tough to find some time to record this week. I've been really busy with a new business venture. My buddy Gorlock has a alpha male clothing store, and I just bought in on it. It's called Sweat. If you're in the Boulder area, I recommend checking it out. But anyway, let's get into it. Let's win a World Series. Okay, we'll start here. We're at July 14th. We are 41 and 55. We're going to get into the trade deadline here shortly, and I got some moves that I'm going to be making. But I want to first take a look at some shortlisted players that are performing well for us. Amador here is having a real nice time, particularly in Double A, it looks like, which gave him the call up to Triple A, where he's still kind of struggling, and that's fine because I'm definitely not in a rush to call him up. Jordan Beck, on the other hand, is absolutely dominating. He's 23 years old. I am going to try and call him up after the trade deadline, so we're going to have to see what we have available as far as trade pieces to make room for Jordan on the major league team. And that's going to be the same for Drew Romo. Not surprised, but he is also doing really well in Double A. He actually isn't doing all that great in Triple A, but considering his defense, he's 22 years old. I think he's ready. So we're going to try and make some room for him too. And Elias Diaz is probably going to be the trade piece that allows us to do so. Here is the NL All-Star results. Some big news here. Nolan Jones of the Colorado Rockies. He is hitting 306, 401 with a 530 slugging. So Nolan Jones is off to a great start for us this season. And he has earned himself a trip to the All-Star game by the looks of it. And that's it. Cool. Quick look here for the All-Star team in the American League. You can take a look at some of the names if that interests you. The top vote getter was center field Julio Rodriguez. Not a surprise. He is injured right now, unfortunately, but 80 out of 80, and he is having a ridiculous season by the looks of it. Holy cow. I didn't check in the NL. It looks like it was Austin Riley as the top vote getter. Way to go, bud. So we're going to get going to the trade deadline here shortly. I'll sim a few days before I start making some moves, but want to take a peek at our financial situation at the moment. So we have $2 million to spend this year. That number hopefully will go up after the trade deadline because obviously we are sellers. The money for extensions, fine. The other thing we want to look at are the salaries because the guys that we are looking to move up on from, or at least we're considering, are obviously these dudes who have their contracts ending. Elias Diaz is definitely someone we want to move on from. If we can trade Daniel Bard, we are not going to trade Charlie Blackmon because he is a Colorado Rockies legend and want to keep this realistic, want him to retire a Rocky. Jalen Beeks is definitely someone we could consider trading as well. And then on the flip side, who's going to be making the big money buckos next year? And we got these fellas. So all of these dudes are definitely under consideration for trading. We'll see who gives us what offer. All right, here we are, July 21st, and we are about to make our first trade, and it might be the biggest trade we make at this deadline. Ryan McMahon for Jorge Mateo to the Orioles. Orioles are trying to win now. We obviously are not. I am not particularly interested in Jorge Mateo. He's making $2.7 million, so I'll have to pay half of that about. And his contract ends after the season. Or, sorry, it doesn't end, but he is in his arb years. So I could non-tender him if I feel like it, try and trade him. Who knows what we'll do. He's not a bad piece to keep around. I mean, he's blazing speed and he can play all sorts of positions. So, as far as getting a guy in return for McMahon, I think it's pretty good because the main goal here is just getting off this contract. Ryan McMahon is having an abysmal season at the plate. He's supposed to be a great defender, but that's really being outweighed in terms of his replacement level stat there. And he's also set to make $12 million, then $16 million for the next several seasons. So there's just no need to keep him on this team. It makes sense the Orioles want to take a risk. We all know who the Orioles have is in terms of their minor league farm system guys ready to come up and play the same positions that Jorge Mateo plays, so they're not going to miss him. Let's go. Deal maker. So this isn't great news. The acquisition of Jorge Mateo is concerning to the clubhouse, and I always look at personality traits, but in this case I didn't, because I really just wanted to trade McMahon. I didn't so much care about Mateo, but I'm not super excited to see that he is one to tear clubhouses apart. Quick pause while I'm searching for some more trades to make. I came across this player. I'm not going to trade for him, but he's someone the computer offered in a trade I was looking at, and I don't think I've ever seen a player in this game be major league ready in every single way, but then have a 20 power. I don't know if I've seen 20 power. That is crazy. All right, BRB. All right, so we're going to turn that trade of McMahon into a 3-team deal, and we're going to trade Mateo to the Marlins. They have interest in him for Nick Gordon. So Nick Gordon actually looks to be kind of a better player in most ways than Mateo, and he has a much better personality. He's also just going into his first ARB years, so his contract will cost me a lot less next year, so this makes sense. Not sure I will actually keep Gordon, but we'll see how he does. We're at July 23rd here, and we are going to make our second trade of the deadline. I'm kind of considering that first trade just one. Brendan Rodgers is going to go. He is finishing up a rehab assignment. I just am not interested in him. His profile stinks. He has 2 years left of option years. He's 27 years old. I'm going to trade him for Trey Cabbage. Trey Cabbage is not a very sexy player either, but, maybe he's got some pop if he stops hitting it on the ground so much. And he has 3 option years, so just someone that can kind of lurk in the minors for a couple years. Welcome to the squad, bud. Okay, we're at July 29th, and it's time for the third trade that we're going to make. Elias Diaz is the main piece here. I'm excited to see him go, only because it means Drew Romo gets to be called up and play on the Rockies for the rest of the season. As you can see, there's really nothing very exciting about Elias Diaz, and he will be a free agent after the season, so it makes a lot of sense. Robbie Martin is just a throw-in here, and then we're getting Chris Flexen, who the White Sox clearly just want to get rid of. But the main piece I'm a little bit excited about is Davis Martin. He is going to be not hitting his arbitration years next season, which is nice. He is only 40 overall here, but his ratings are pretty good, and he's off to a good start for the White Sox this season, and then pitched really well in AAA last year. So excited to give him a chance. Kaboom. Quick note here before we move on and look for more trades. The players were upset to see Elias Diaz leave, but they do feel that there's still some capable captains in the room. Phew. Like I give a shit. Here's an easy one. This is maybe the last trade that we're going to make at the deadline. German Marquez. He is set to make $10 million next year, and he is not worth $10 zillion, because it'd be silly if I paid that to him. And we're gonna get Tyler Saucedo, and originally I was just looking to do a big old salary dump, but Taylor Saucedo, is about to hit his arbitration years, and his estimate is actually pretty low, and he looks like he could be decent, maybe even a borderline starter. So this trade could actually be a little bit better than just a big old dump. Okay, and we're at the deadline. This will be our fifth and final trade, and it's going to be Jalen Beeks. He's been our closer this season, having a great year, nasty stuff, really good profile. He is going to be a free agent after this season, and I checked his demand, or what would he want for an extension, and it's like $5-6 million, definitely too much. There's just no need for us to have a great reliever for like 2 seasons, because we're going to be bad for those 2 seasons. In return, we're getting 2 relievers from the Cubs. Jose Quaz, it's really just kind of about a control thing, control and dominance. He is not going to be hitting his arbitration years, so we'll see and to kind of take a flyer on him. And then Zach Lee, who's 26, same story, not eligible for arbitration. He has options. He's got a really nice pitching profile if he can get that control and home runs allowed under control, pun intended. So this is an easy trade. Boom. Now that we are at August 1st, we got some roster moves to show you. The most notable ones is first a call-up of Jordan Beck. Jordan Beck has been absolutely raking in AAA. He deserved a call-up. So here he is. Maybe not absolutely raking, but he's playing well enough in AAA, and he deserves a chance to hit at the major league level. So we ended up DFAing Jake Cave for Jordan Beck. So Jake Cave has now been DFA'd. We'll see if any team wants to pick him up. Probably not. And then if he doesn't go to the minors, we will release him. Chris Flexen was in the Elias Diaz trade. I'm just going to DFA him as well. I really had no interest in him, but took him off the White Sox hands because they didn't want him either. I decided to put a pause on calling up Drew Romo because I noticed that he was in AA to this point, and I didn't want to do a jump from AA to AAA. He has AAA experience this season, and he got called down. He wasn't hitting that bad, but either way, we'll let him get some more reps and then consider calling him up later. So instead, we ended up calling up Daniel Cope, who's a 27-year-old catcher. Nothing interesting to him. We'll call him down when Drew Romo is ready. And so here's the batting order. It looks quite different. We have Nick Gordon, who was in that trade for Ryan McMahon, batting leadoff against righties. Ryan Ritter will remain in at second base. If you remember, we traded Brendan Rodgers to allow Ryan Ritter to stay in the MLB, and then Stallings will be our starting catcher for a little bit. On the pitching side, the big update is obviously the loss of our closer, so Jake Bird will slot in there. We got Taylor Saucedo at the deadline, and he'll be a setup guy. And then Davis Martin, who we got from the White Sox, is going to slot in to that fifth starter role on the team. So we'll see what he's got. I mean, there's the bar is pretty low in terms of starting pitching on this team, but the bullpen has been good. We also received a player development update here, so we can take a look at that. Looks like Jordan Beck, after having a really hot start to the season, did have a dip in his potential. Hopefully he can gain that back. Drew Romo made a bounce while being in AA. He did bump from 45 overall to 50. I mean, this dude's ability as a catcher, his speed, he is ridiculous, and I'm super excited to see him get to the MLB. Amador looks like a tick up in terms of his eye and his second base ability, so that's pretty awesome. Anything else here? Another thing that's exciting is Yankiel. Sorry, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. I mean, in fact, I'm sure I'm not. But Fernandez here, who's currently at the AA level, he had a tick up, and he's a guy that is starting to look pretty nice. So I don't hate where the minor league system is at, and I haven't even done anything. How exciting. That's our player development update on August 1st. 46 and 63, so we're just kind of going to ride out the season, give some of those young guys the opportunity to play here, and we'll sim, and I'll stop if anything fun happens. All right, time's up on Flexen. No team claimed him, so we will be releasing him and eating that money. Jake Cave, you might be next. Let that be a warning. And Jake Cave did not heed my warning. He also refuses to be demoted, so that will be the end of his time in Colorado, as we will eat that $283,000. Montero is ready to come back to the major league team, but I just don't have any interest in him being on the major league team. He can't play defense. His hitting is nowhere near good enough to be a DH, so we will DFA him, and he'll get the same treatment as the others if no team decides to claim him. September 1st, and it is time to expand our Major League roster, and that is particularly exciting because this is also going to mark our call-up time for Drew Romo. Victor Vodnik, who's having a nice season for the Rockies, had a tick up in his overall. He has a 3.92 ERA this season. Freeland had a tick up in his overall as well. But the most fun of these updates is Ezequiel Tovar. He is honestly not having all that great of a season, slashing 242, 286, 361. I mean, he is above replacement level because of his defense, but I don't actually give a shit about his stats this season because I'm just excited to see his potential jump up like that. Good sign. Hopefully that keeps on going in the same direction. Here's a new look at the lineup after the September call-ups. Very, very exciting because we have Drew Romo slotted in, batting 7th as our catcher. We're also going to be starting Sterling Thompson, who is another call-up. He is going to play first base for us. We're just going to see what he's got. I mean, there's nothing too amazing about his profile, but he was having a nice season in AAA, so I figured why not give him a shot. And then Jordan Beck still in the lineup as well. And then on the pitching side, we also called up Santitella, who started the season on the injured list and was in a minor league rehab assignment. So we use this as an opportunity to get him into the majors, and so he'll be our setup guy. We were able to call up 3 players instead of 2 because we sent down the catcher Cope, who was just up as a filler until Drew Romo was ready. And this is such an important moment, I think, in this franchise because Drew Romo is someone I really do see as a long-term player on this team. We are going to do a little sim action and see how our team does. I think it's always really fun. Of course, we're playing Corbin Burns, so this should be interesting. But I think it's fun to do this once in a while to kind of see what these players look like in the actual game. That might sound silly, but it helps me. It helps you form emotional attachments to them, and it just makes it a little more fun when you can see these players, even if it's obviously a small sample size, see who comes through and who doesn't. So we'll set me, Chucky, as the guy who's making substitutions, but we'll leave everything else up to the manager. Okay, now we're ready here. I had to move things around real quick. For some reason, it didn't have Thompson in the game, so I swapped him in as our DH, and he'll hit right before Beck and Romo. So these are the 3 players we're going to keep an eye on during this game. Ryan Feltner shut down the Orioles 1-2-3 in the top of the first, and let's see what Tovar has. This is my first time getting a look at him as he bats leadoff against Corbin Burns. This is going to be a tough matchup for the hitters. Corbin Burns, I didn't look at what type of season he's having this year, but his stats are ridiculous. He's having a really good season with a 3.82 ERA and a 4 WAR at this point. So yeah, it's going to be tough. Chris Bryant, on a full count, he delivers a single into left field, and that is the first hit of the ball game. And it brings up Nolan Jones, who is most definitely our best hitter this season. He hits one hard to first base, and that gets through, so that's going to put runners. Chris Bryant is on third base, and there's 2 outs. Our cleanup hitter, Bouchard, draws the full count walk. And look what we have here. Sterling Thompson, the first time he is ever playing in the major leagues. Let me just double check. Yes, it is. Was playing well in AAA. And he gets the spot as the DH, and he skies one 1,000,000 feet high. And that will be the 3rd out of the inning. Feltner here, and he gives up his first hit of the game to Anthony Santander. And we have 1 on with no out. Ryan O'Hearn up to bat. He takes a ball, and they check over at first base. Safe is the call. and that is going to drop for a hit. So that's back-to-back hits to start the second inning. Feltner in a little bit of trouble here. First and second, and look who's up, Ryan McMahon. Oh man, I did not put that together, that I originally had traded McMahon for Mateo before moving Mateo for Gordon, and of course Ryan McMahon immediately delivers a single into left field, and now the Orioles really have something cooking here as Feltner continues to implode here. But we are going to let him keep on keeping on. Not a surprise the Orioles are really going to give it to us today as they single home another couple of runs and extend their lead to 3. And that one gets pumped into the gap by Arias. And things keep getting worse for Feltner here in the second inning. Feltner manages to get the first out of the inning, but it is a productive one for the Orioles as they will score another run. And that makes it 5-0 here in the top of the second. And that is yet another single for the Orioles as they continue piling on here. And it is going to force me to never mind. My bullpen is absolutely taxed. I'll have to look into that. How does that happen? Holy cow. Feltner manages to get a double play, and that gets him out of the inning as the Orioles put up a 6th spot. But Jordan Beck is up against Corbin Burnes, and this is not his first MLB appearance. He's been okay hitting so far this season. He is below replacement level. His fielding is definitely not great, but he's been okay so far. Let's see how he does against Corbin in his first at bat. Not great. Dinks one, dunks one, and Corbin doofs one. I think it's safe to say that Beck's speed caused the error there, and he's now on second base with no outs. And Drew Romo, our little golden boy, comes up to bat. His first major league game, Drew Romo delivers some soft serve into center field, and that's going to score Jordan Beck. What a way to start your career, Drew Romo. Let's follow it up with a stolen base. He doesn't, but that's a wild pitch, and the Rockies are actually putting the heat right back on the Orioles, kind of. Let's see if Ryan Ritter can keep it going. He cannot, and he will strike out. Brenton Doyle is our last chance. No, he's not. He's not our last chance in the inning. Good thing, because he struck out too. All right, top of the lineup, Ezekiel Tovar. If you're going to be a superstar in this league, these are the moments where you need to come through. And he must have heard me, because he somehow didn't manage to score a 70-speed runner standing on second base with 2 outs. Okay, so Chris Bryant, we're going to need you to come through. He works a full count. This feels like the game right here, to be honest. This feels like the game. And I might be right as Chris Bryant watches strike 3 go by. But here's Sterling Thompson, his second at-bat against Corbin Burnes. Let's see if he does any better this time. It's a 2-0 count. He hits one hard, but it is right at the first baseman, and that's the 3rd out of the inning. Ryan Feltner is having the worst day of his life as he gives up another hit and another run, and it's now 12-1 in the top of the 4th inning. Okay, we will put him out of his misery. Jordan Beck is up. It's 12-1. This is an absolute spanking, and all the Rockies are bent over. Jordan Beck, let's see if you can at least put some whipped cream on this shit. You can't. Drew Romo's up now. He has been the bright spot on this game, if we could possibly have one, because he hit a single to center field, an RBI single, to score our only run and give himself his first ever major league hit. All right, we are bottom of the 6th. Score is 12-2. Stopping here because Sterling Thompson is back up to the plate, and he will face off against Spencer Turnbull. And Sterling hits one hard to the right side, and that gets through. And that is his first ever Major League single. Way to go, Jordan Beck. And that is just not a double play. Okay, it's a fielder's choice, but Jordan Beck does not deliver there. And let's see what Romo does. He hits one hard. That could be trouble. That's one. That's two. That's an inning-ending double play. So not the inning that we wanted to see from the young kids. All right, bottom of the eighth, same score, but we'll stop to see Sterling Thompson to see if he can add another hit to his day, but the pitcher manages to hit him. So he does get on base, and Jordan Beck comes up, and this time he's facing a lefty. Doesn't matter, he strikes out. So Jordan Beck ends the game with one hit, as does Thompson, and as does Romo, but Romo does get on base for the second time today, so 2 hit batters in the inning. Do you smell a comeback? Cool. Bretton Doyle up here, full count. And he draws a walk, so the inning continues here for the Rockies. There's only one out, and Ezequiel Tovar splits the gap in left center. That's all the way to the wall. That should score the runner from first. Tovar is on second base, and that's the 4th run of the inning for the Rockies. Maybe I do smell a comeback. Chris Bryant, 1-2 count, and he strikes out. That hurts. That hurts the comeback. Let's see if Nolan Jones, if he can put one over the wall here. He can't, but he does hit a single to the right side. That might score Tovar. And it does. And that is the 5th run of the inning and 7th run of the game for the Rockies. So all of a sudden, we're somewhat in striking distance. And that should be the 3rd out of the inning, and it is. And we batted around in the last inning, so Sterling Thompson once again is up to bat, and he gets a chance to hopefully add to his hit total here and give hope to the Rockies, and that is hopeless. Jordan Beck, he's going to put the first pitch in play and hit hard, but caught by the right fielder. So let's see if Romo can extend the game here and add another hit to his career total. That one's hit to left field in a soft fly ball. And that'll end the game. So, hey, we saw some good stuff. Definitely not the game we wanted, especially not from Feltner. He really put us out of the game at the very beginning there in the 2nd inning. And just absolutely struggled, but he's just a pitcher we don't care about, so I'm not too worried. We did see some decent stuff, some hits from Thompson, Beck. They got on base a couple times as well. And then Drew Romo, first MLB hit in his first at-bat and an RBI. So not so bad. Let's keep simming here and get to the end of the season, and then we'll kind of debrief on how the team did one more time before we sim the playoffs. Quick pause on September 9th, and I have some bad news for you guys. The Rockies aren't going to be in the playoffs this year. I am sorry. Dad is going to be pissed. I don't think anyone saw this coming. And we are 55-89. We're at the end of the season, and I do have some good news. And that good news is we did win 61 games. So it was looking a little grim. Didn't think we were going to get to 60. We were stuck in the high 50s for quite a while, but we managed to do it. We came together as a team, and we did end with 61 wins, which, is pretty good. We'll check in quickly on the owner goals. Obviously, we didn't play close to 500 ball, so Dad is going to be a little bit upset, but we did manage to get our minor league system up to 3rd from 17th. Can't really take credit for that. That was mostly the fact that a lot of players that were already in the system have seemed to improve this season, but I am going to take credit for that. Increased fan interest, we did that. Why? I have no idea. but we did. Next, let's check in on how the team did this season. The pitching staff was pretty much bad. Bullpen-wise, we did see some decent performances. Vodnik had a pretty okay season. What was his WAR? .02. Yeah, pretty okay. And I might be pretty generous, but he's a guy that looks like he could be pretty nice for us, and he is still on a very cheap deal. The bullpen did kind of implode to end the year, honestly, because we were doing a lot better than that, and now we're not. But that's okay. That might explain why we lost 1 billion games in August and September. In terms of hitting, you know we suck because our best hitter is MFN Alan Trejo. If this is your best player, you win 61 games. That is crazy. Nolan Jones was actually our best player in terms of WAR and also hit pretty well. For a really young guy, 26 years old, playing good defense over at first base, pretty happy with this season from him. And same thing with Tovar. I mean, I'd like to see the bat start to get active, but 2.8 WAR, we saw his potential go up as well. And same thing, Brenton Doyle, I mean, his number one job in my eyes is to be an awesome center fielder, and he did that. And also didn't hit all that bad. On the negative side of things, Jordan Beck struggled in the major leagues. He's not really much of a defenseman, and his hitting just wasn't that great. Could have been worse, but hey. Drew Romo also didn't hit that well, but honestly, Drew Romo hitting is just a bonus. He's here for that big old D. Take a quick peek at some of the shortlisted players, aka our prospects here. On the pitching front, there wasn't anything too exciting, so I'll just show you the batters. Amador didn't have a great hit. Well, you know, he did manage to turn around in AAA. I was going to say he didn't have a great hitting performance down there in only 20 games, but because he only hit 200, but he did have a 360 on base and a nice slugging percentage as well. So actually, that was pretty good. We probably, since he's only 21, we'll probably have him start the season next year in AAA again, but he'll absolutely be on our radar for a call-up. So we'll keep that in mind when we get into the offseason, that we do want to open up a most likely second base position, which I think it more or less is. I believe Ryan Ritter is there right now. Fernandez, he had a spike this year in terms of potential. He was hitting really well in high A, and double A, he was hitting decent. He's 21 as well, so he'll start the season, you know, maybe in AAA next year. And that's probably about it as far as interesting seasons for our prospects. Let's take a look at the standings as the year came to a close. The most wins in the year was the Dodgers, as a surprise to absolutely no one. We, of course, were in last place. The Giants managed to get into the playoffs as a top wild card team. Good for them. The Reds and Pirates are our other wild card teams with only 85 wins. Kind of low, I think, for two wild card teams. The Braves were at the top of their division, and the Cubs were at the top of theirs. The Twins win the Central. The Orioles and the Red Sox get into the playoffs. And then the Mariners and Rangers do as well, as things were pretty tight but pretty ugly in the AL West. Not too different than what's happening in real life at time of recording, which is August 3rd, 2024. Here you can take a look at the league leaders in these statistics. Some notable ones here is Shohei Ohtani hit 50 bombs and led the league. Yordan Alvarez led the league with a 405 on base percentage. So there's some fun stuff here if you want to pause. Stolen bases was Victor Scott. I thought it would be De La Cruz, but it was not, as he had 62. And here are things on the pitching side. Blake Snell leads the league in wins, but Yamamoto gets that ERA crown with 2.47. Snell not far behind him, though. So he clearly had a fantastic season with 212 innings pitched. Good God. Strider with 308 strikeouts. That's bonkers, but just feels doable for him in 201 innings. Absolutely crazy. His profile is hot. And here's what the playoffs look like in 2024. Dodgers, Braves, Orioles, Twins all get a bye, and we will sim to see who the champion will be. Okay, the division series is set. We'll have the Dodgers facing off against the Reds, the Cubs against the Braves, Twins, Guardians. That's a good matchup. Classic. Orioles, Rangers, which is starting to feel like a classic matchup because I feel like that happened last season. So, classic matchup is a stretch. All right, our championship series are set with the Dodgers taking on the Braves in the NL, and then the Orioles facing off against the Twins in the AL. Now, thinking about this season that's happening in real life, this seems like a pretty I'm not going to say pretty realistic matchup because the Twins, as good as they've been in the regular season, we all know what happens to them in the playoffs. I like the Twins. I hope I'm wrong. The Braves are really struggling this year, but I still don't think it's a surprise to think of them in the championship series. Of course, we aren't surprised by the Dodgers or the Orioles. Okay, and it's time for the World Series. Kind of a surprise here. The Dodgers did sweep the Braves, and the Orioles beat the Twins in 6. So this is a really fun matchup to think about happening in real life. The Orioles and the Dodgers, just the amount of... Well, the Dodgers isn't as much young talent, the Orioles is, but the amount of major league talent on that field, it kind of would be like the new guard versus the old. Two really high-powered offenses are about to go up against each other in the World Series here, and we can take this game by game. And the Dodgers take game 1. They also take game 2, so the Orioles have their backs against the wall. They're going to need a win in game 3, and they don't get it. The Dodgers have now won, I don't know how many games in a row. We might have to look into that if they keep winning, but it's at least 8. And they sweep the Orioles. Wow. That is a surprise. We're going to have to look at how they did it. 9-5, 6-3, 6-5, so that was a close game. Looks like the Dodgers took control in the 6th inning there, and then 5-4. So back-to-back close games, a heartbreaker for the Orioles as they scored a run in the 10th and gave up 2 in the bottom of the 10th in game 1. So there you have it. To as surprising to absolutely nobody, the Dodgers win the World Series. What is surprising is they did it in a sweeping manner against the Baltimore Orioles. Your season score is a 43, and that's just a terrible score, Chucky HJ. Well, okay. Well, you do it. It looks like we had a team option and a player option with Jacob Stalling. That's a little bit weird because in one email it's saying he's going to stay, and then the next one, I get to choose if he's going to stay, and I choose, you're definitely fucking not staying. So my dad emailed us, and he sent us some information on our new budget for next season. We're going to have a budget of $174 million. You can see we cut a lot of money off the books and a lot of money that we could spend in free agency or use to re-sign some players. Hint, we're not going to re-sign anybody on this garbage team. And here's another email from Dad about the goals that he's setting for us next year. He wants us to play close to 500 ball. I don't know about that, Dad. Did you not watch? Improve your team's runs against, aka be a better pitching team. I think we will actually be able to do that. Hopefully we can improve the chemistry, increase the fan interest, but you can see here all the goals that he has set for us. All right, and we'll end it here. I'll let you see what we got in terms of arbitration decisions and some pending free agents as we get into the offseason. This is just going to be a teaser as I'll make those decisions during the next video. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Like, subscribe, do all that stuff. Fuck Chaz. See you next time. Bye.